So, welcome. How is everybody?
Very good.
Welcome. I'm glad you're here. Yes, we are in the season of the light. I just love it when we are heading into the winter solstice. We're heading into the darkest time of year. We decide it's the season of the light. Isn't there something just wonderful about the human soul that we do that?
Right.
Let's not worry about it. This is the season of the light. At this time of year, all over the world, people of all different faith traditions and different faith communities, they look to each other to celebrate the light, which to them and to all of us is the triumph of joy, hope, and love over darkness, abundance over want, and unity over division. That's what this symbolizes. Our December series is called Symbols of the Season. And what we wanted to do was explore what some of these symbols mean, and even more than in an academic sense, exploring what these symbols mean. I want us to inquire and think about what we can do with this, what we can glean, what we can harvest from these symbols to advance our own spiritual journey. So what I'm going to be inviting you to do over the next few weeks is look at light. Look at the symbol of light in your own life. Look at how you use the light, especially in this holiday season, to advance your own spiritual growth. Light is a symbol of hope. Now, we all know, we just saw this video about the solstice. December 21st is the winter solstice. It's the shortest and the darkest day of the year, isn't it? But what we do is we articulate light as a symbol of optimism and hope as we approach that day and as we move out of it. Because every day after December 21st is a little lighter and a little longer and a little closer to the return of the spring. I was talking to a friend of mine a few days ago who was having some challenging things going on in her life. I mean, things had just been going south. And she sent me an email that said, I really can't wait for this year to be over. And I thought, first, that showed a touching faith in the power of the Gregorian calendar. Thank God it's January. Whew! All of a sudden. I'm like, things are better. Good, thank God. But that's not what she meant. She meant that it means that this year is over. We start the years with such hope, and as they go on, our expectations fade. We find that we are not able to do things that we wanted to do. And we approach the end of the year sometimes with a sense that it could have gone better. Do we get that feeling sometimes? Sorrows spring up, people pass, we become ill, we become injured, and it's like, God, we just got to do better next year. But that's what's so wonderful about us, is because we are people of hope. We never say, next year is going to be just as bad as this. We don't. We say it's going to be better. We know the light is going to shine and hope is going to emerge. We are just wired that way. Thank God that we are wired that way. So the symbol of the light is a focus for us. It's a focus of the hope we bring to the coming year, to the vision we have that next year is going to be better, that next year is going to be healthier, it's going to be more abundant, it's going to be more prosperous, more joyous, safer, more successful. Things will be better. Isn't that how we always feel about the year? No matter how old we get. You know, when you're a kid, you think, okay, school's going to be better, I'm going to get more presents. But as we get to be adults, we just have a faith that things are going to be better because we are people of hope. We are people of light. So one of the things I wanted to do today is I wanted to explore how different faith traditions look at the symbol of the light. Because what I found as I researched the talk is that we all approach it the same. Nobody really has a view that is wildly different from any other faith tradition. We all look at light in different ways, perhaps, as a symbol of hope and joy and coming abundance, coming change, coming illumination. I gained such an awareness of the importance of light in all its meanings to this promise of the season. I think it's because the image, the word itself, what a great word, What's that word, onomatopoeia? The word light itself just lifts us up, doesn't it? Yeah, it just has such a wonderful energy about it. It leads us. It opens us up into those other wonderful values of hope and joy and love and compassion and kindness. Sometimes light, especially at this time of year, is so ubiquitous. We don't really appreciate how much it means. Back when we were studying gratitude, that would be last month. That would be like last week. I came across a practice that involved imagining the many things in our lives that we take for granted. Our families, our friends, food, shelter, health, and one by one taking them out of the picture and just imagining they were not there. And then we sit with that for a minute, and then one by one we add them back. I have my health. I have my job. I have my wife. I have my family. And we just sit with the feeling of joy we get, realizing as we add each one back in how much it means to us. So at this time of year, we can do the same thing with the light. We see lights on trees, we put lights on our Christmas trees, we light candles all over the place. But what if we were to imagine what it would feel like if we did not have these lights at this time of year, in this dark, physically dark time of year? It would be a sadder time, would it not?
Yes.
It would be a time of much thicker energy, much lower energy. We would just not feel as joyful as we do. But then when we realize that we can add the light back in, think of the joy that gives us, the additional energy it brings to this season. That's a good exercise to do every now and then. Just imagine what our lives would be like if we didn't have some of these things that we take for granted. Imagine if we had no tradition of lighting our homes, decorating our homes, lighting our trees. We have some major decorators here who can attest to the value of the light. But just imagine if we did not have those traditions. We would lose a measure of the joy that we have. So this is a time of the year when we call upon the light to assure ourselves, to confirm for us that darkness will not last, that spring is coming, that hope is coming, that illumination is coming. From the earliest days when people gathered around fires, we were given warmth, protection, comfort, a promise of food, and a way to see when everything was dark. From way back then to now. In the Christian scriptures in Matthew 5, verses 14 through 16, Jesus taught, "You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father in heaven." Now, what does that mean? That they may see your good deeds and just glorify the Christ nature in all of us. The potential for good, for service, for light, for love, not just in your Father in heaven, but we believe in all of us. We each are a source of warmth, protection, comfort, nourishment for each other. It means that because we have that light, because we are that light, we must shine it. It's like Mark Nepo said in our reading. We let it shine. We have the obligation, the privilege to let it shine. That's who we are. We don't cultivate our inner awareness, our inner essence, so that we can feel good about ourselves, do we? No. We take it out and we serve and we let it shine. That is the promise of this holiday season. Those of us who take a more non-traditional view of the Christian scriptures take this lesson from the story of Christ's birth, don't we? Every year at Christmas, we celebrate the birth of the Christ child. But what does it mean to us? It means that we are celebrating the birth of the Christ consciousness in here. It's a reminder we give ourselves every year. And we know the holiday has its pagan and its druidic roots, don't we? That's wonderful. That just means we're a continuation that goes back so many thousands of years of so many people celebrating the same things. It's the birth, the renewal, the promise of the light of hope and love and kindness and peace in all of us. It's the knowledge that we carry within us that light that we call our Christ consciousness. The symbol of the light, the candles we light, the trees we light, everything we light, the stuff we put up around our house, symbolizes for us, reminds us that that's who we are, and that that is what we are here to do. So as I was preparing this talk, I had the occasion to think about light. I started just thinking about light. And I started thinking of some other characteristics of light. And it came to me that another wonderful characteristic of light is that it doesn't discriminate. It shines on everybody, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. It doesn't judge, it doesn't measure, it doesn't deny. It doesn't matter if we're good looking, if we're not, if we're rich, if we're thin, if we're nice, if we're absolutely venal. The light shines on all of us. It provides equal warmth, heat, illumination on all. So we are the light of the world. So isn't that what we are called to do with our light? We are not called to judge. We are not called to weigh or measure or discriminate or deny. As the light of the world, we are called to shine it on all. Because that's what we are. Michael Strassfeld writes, "Light gives of itself freely, filling all available space. It does not seek anything in return. It asks not whether you are friend or foe. It gives of itself and is not thereby diminished." Giving strengthens light. Giving strengthens love. It is not diminished. It is spread. I can take this candle and I can light 1,000 candles from it. Is this candle going to be any smaller? No. It gives and it is not diminished. The same is true with our light, with our heart's light, with our soul's light, that we shine out. We are the light of the world. We are called to shine upon all, equally and lovingly and forcefully. So not surprisingly, as I was doing this research, I found that other faith traditions use the symbol of the light in very similar ways. Now, the first faith tradition that I researched was the Hindu tradition of Diwali, or Deepavali. I didn't know a lot about it. When I was in seminary, we studied Hinduism, but I frankly didn't know a lot about it, so I did some research on Diwali. It's called the Festival of Lights. It's a 2-day festival. It falls on the last 2 days of the Hindu month of Kartik. This month, it fell on November 11th. It is the Hindu New Year, and they call it the Festival of Lights. Hindus worldwide celebrate these days as the New Year, and it signifies a time of community and personal enlightenment. The source of the festival has different origins. Some claim it celebrates the marriage of the goddess Lakshmi, the goddess of wealth, health, and prosperity, with the Lord Vishnu, or that it commemorates the day on which Lord Rama returned home after defeating the demon king Ravana. If you want some cool stories, study Hinduism. I am not making this up. It is a wonderful faith tradition. One of the things that I really like about Hinduism, and one thing which kind of informs my life journey, is their notion of 4 stages of life. You have the child, the student, the householder, and then the older person. And people who are, my age, 60 and above or 55 and above, oh, we're going to edit that out. You're in the stage of life where you've been a student, you've been a parent, you've made money, you've had your career, and now your period of time in this life is to think about what you have learned, to harvest the lessons of your life, to downsize, to begin to just capsulize everything you have learned in your life. Then, if we really need to have a class on Hinduism, because it is a wonderful, rich faith tradition. So, as I learned more about the holiday of Diwali, I learned that it is a time where Hindus worldwide celebrate and feast with family and friends. There are fireworks, homes are decorated, at night they are lit with earthen pots, old accounts are closed, debts are forgiven, and arguments are settled. Isn't that great? Wouldn't that be great if we did that at holiday time? I mean, think about it. We just celebrate. We'll have a drink with you, but if you owe me $50, you still owe it. You know? It's like, no. We settle accounts. We settle debts. We just release. Yeah, like Jeannie says, we just release. We can all take a lesson from that. We start anew. Really, we start anew. And that means forgiving what is owed, getting past arguments, reconciling old hurts. Now, there is one tradition during Diwali which I just loved. It requires celebrants to wake up during the Brahma Muhurta period. Has anyone heard of that? Okay. There is a theory that, Jeannie's heard of it. There's a theory that if you wake up during this period, the Brahma Muhurta period, which is an hour and 36 minutes before sunrise, there is a tradition of waking up an hour and a half before sunrise to meditate, because yoga teachers teach that that is the best time in the cycle of the day to meditate, to still your mind. My mind is really still at about an hour and a half. But that's not what they're talking about. It's the best time of day to just be at peace. And so if you are looking to improve your meditation practice and your prayer practice, give it a shot. Does anybody here get up really early to meditate and pray? Yeah? Okay, a few people. I have tried it, and, you know, to be honest with you, sometimes I succeed and sometimes I don't, but it's a wonderful tradition. Anyway, Hindu sages urge you during the Feast of Diwali to get up, and it's about 4 o'clock in the morning. They call it God's hour. It's the last phase or muhurta of the night, and it's considered an auspicious time for all practices of yoga and for meditation, worship, or any other religious practice. Hindu sages teach that this early rising leads to spiritual advancement, health, and ethical growth. I say we give it a shot. Yeah. Anyway, if you want to try working that into your meditation practice, do. I know that I read once that the Dalai Lama goes to bed at 7 o'clock and gets up at 3 o'clock in the morning to meditate for 4 hours. I have always put myself up against that. Why do we do that? If I were truly spiritual, I would get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to meditate for 4 hours. Oh my God. Sometimes I can get through an entire day and not do it. But that's, we all try. Yeah, Jeannie says with the bowls, we all just try. On a community level, the Diwali festival calls for unity, charity, forgiveness, and an opening of your hearts to kindness and joy. Shopkeepers typically open their books for the new year during Diwali, thinking if they do, they're going to be more prosperous and more successful. And on a personal level, and this is where it goes back to our theme that we are the light, Diwali symbolizes the kindling of the inner light, or the illumination of the soul. Swami Sivananda writes, "Oh man, wake up from the slumber of ignorance. Realize the constant and eternal light of the soul, which neither rises nor sets, through meditation and deep inquiry. May you all attain full inner illumination. May the supreme light of lights enlighten your understanding." So on a personal level, the Feast of Diwali symbolizes overcoming the darkness of ignorance, the darkness of fear, the darkness of lack. It's a reminder to Hindus worldwide and to all of us that there is an inner light leading us through any darkness that threatens us. Swami Sivananda also taught that all the lights of the world cannot be compared even to a ray of the inner light of the self. Think about that. All the lights of the world cannot be compared to even one ray of the inner light that shines in your heart, that animates your soul, that animates you, that sustains you through any darkness that threatens you. I also revisited the festival of Hanukkah, which starts today and ends on starts at sundown today and ends on December 14th. The Jewish festival of lights. The story of Hanukkah is found in the book of 1 Maccabees, and the festival actually celebrates 2 miracles. It's really come to celebrate one miracle, but at its beginning, it celebrated the 2 miracles. In the 2nd century BCE, the land we now call Israel was part of the Syrian Greek Empire. The Jewish people were subject to King Antiochus IV, who was a despot and a tyrant, who was determined to stamp out all indices, all indicia of Jewish worship, practice, and thought, and impose a common religion throughout his empire. As the result of a local rebellion in Jerusalem, he ordered his army in, and thousands of Jews were killed. Jewish worship was forbidden. The scrolls of the law were taken and destroyed. Jewish religious practices such as observance of the Sabbath, circumcision, and dietary laws were prohibited under penalty of death. It was a very dark time. Antiochus and his men attempted to force Jews to worship the pagan gods worshipped by the Syrians. Many villages gave in because they were subject to the penalty of death. However, certain Jews rebelled, led by Judah the Strong, or Judah Maccabee, a word meaning, "Who is like you, O God?" The Maccabees defeated Antiochus, although they were a much smaller and a militarily inferior force. So that is the first miracle of Hanukkah, which was the success by a small army over a much larger army, but the success of people who wanted to worship their own way and worship the God of their hearts. The second miracle, and the primary miracle that we now celebrate during Hanukkah, is the miracle of the lights. When the Maccabees returned to the temple after the victory to cleanse and rededicate it, they found that the Syrians and the Greeks had defiled it. They had cleared out the idols. They had destroyed the altar. Because the gold menorah had been stolen by the Syrians, the returning Jews made one of a lesser metal. However, when they began to light it, they needed to light it for 8 days, but they only found oil enough for one. So what did they do? They had a choice. Remember Jeannie taught us once there's a choice, you always have a choice? They could have said, well, we don't have enough for 8 days, so bag it. We're just not going to light anything. But no, they stepped out in faith. They had enough oil for 1 day, but they lit it anyway. And what happened? What is the miracle of Hanukkah? It burned for 8 days. The oil was enough to burn for 8 days, or until they could get new oil. In memory of this miracle, Jews today light the menorah for 8 days, celebrating the miracle of the oil, God's message that they were delivered out of the darkness, that they had enough. So what does this festival mean to us on a global and also on a personal level? On a wider level, the festival celebrates the abundance that was present, even though they feared that it was not. Even though reason told them that it was not, because enough oil for 1 day can't possibly burn for more than 1 day. I mean, this is the law of physics. This is science. Well, that's not quite how it works. It continued to burn. So perhaps this can symbolize for all of us that we have enough, that we have plenty to share, that we don't need to fear want. We don't need to broadcast the energy of lack, that there is enough. If we have faith that there is enough, and if we act as though there is enough. On a personal level, Hanukkah teaches us perhaps to tend the light that is within us, that we all have that inner light. Even if we believe, even if we fear that it may not shine as brightly as it should, especially in times of challenge or fear, the light does. Just as those candles burn, the light inside of us continues to burn, and it does not go out. Rabbi Yechiel Eckstein writes that the Hanukkah story is about hope and miracles. In the darkness, there is light. He also notes that Hanukkah is the only Jewish holiday that focuses on night. Did you know that? It's the only Jewish holiday that centers on night. You're only allowed to light the menorahs when it is dark outside, because that's the symbol, light overcoming the darkness. If you do it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's like, where's the symbolism? No, you have to wait until it's dark outside. Hanukkah is celebrated at the darkest time of the year. It's about overcoming darkness. It's about overcoming challenges. We light our candles and we bring light. No matter how dark things may be, we can still find the light, and even more, we can still be the light. So, as we move into this holiday season, what are some practices we can do to celebrate the presence of the light in our own lives, to remember to keep that light kindled in our own hearts and in our own practices? Well, one thing we can do is light candles, right? At dinner. I started doing that at dinner. I have 2 little candles on my table and I light them, even if it's just the 4 of us eating, because it's just beautiful. It's just a symbol of hope and light and love. Light candles during your meditation. Light candles during your prayer time. If you have a journaling practice, or even if you don't, you can make a list of those qualities that tend to dull your inner light. What are some of the habits or the practices you have that get in the way of the shining of your inner light? Is it greed? Is it fear? Is it anger? Is it laziness? Who knows? What are some of the things you do just to get in your own way that prevent you from showing up as the light being that you are? Conversely, you can make a list of those qualities that enhance your light. What is it you're doing that help you shine your light? You are loving, you are kind, you are compassionate. Remember how we talk about being gentle with yourself and giving credit to yourself? This is the time to do that. What am I doing now that helps me show up as the child of light that I am? And how do I do more of it? How do I cultivate it? How do I keep it going? This is the time to focus on that. Think about ways to share your light with others. We're going to be doing holiday shopping. We smile at a clerk. We hold the door for somebody. Somebody cuts in front of us on 400. We don't step on the gas and ram them. Okay, I know that's a stretch. Just, no, seriously. What can we do to shine our light to others consciously to improve this season for ourselves and for others? A kind word. You know, it can be something that is so small. Let me leave you with a quote from Michael Strasfeld again in his book, A Book of Life. And he talks about lighting the menorah. In lighting our menorah, we ignite the flame in our souls, the spark that cannot be extinguished, that will burn not for 8 days, but for eternity. We place the menorah in our windows to be visible to those passing by, just as our inner light must shine against the darkness of evil and indifference, and must kindle the spirits of our fellow humans. The menorah reminds us of the miracle that no matter how dark life may be, there remains a source of light deep inside us. The light in our souls reflects and refracts the light from the one who is all brightness. So let's take these thoughts into meditation.